Today I'm going to make pork and cabbage. I would call it pork and sauerkraut, except I take my sauerkraut and I drain it, I rinse it, and then I add an entire head of cabbage shredded to it. So you get a very, very mild hint of the sauerkraut flavor. It's more pork and cabbage. I got this recipe from my mother-in-law. Today I'm using pork loin country style ribs, which are boneless. You can use pork chops, bone in, bone out. You can even use a pork loin. And I am going to cook it on the stove today. This is something you can also do in a crock pot. So we'll get started. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and heat up our pan and get some oil in there. I use olive oil for everything. Put a couple tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom. We want to sear this pork, get a good color on it. And so the first thing we're going to do is season it with salt and pepper. And go ahead and turn it over and get the other side, which we so often miss. My hands. Okay. And then just go ahead and get it in the pan. Once we get a good color on this, I'm going to go ahead and get this seared on all sides. As soon as we get a good color on this, I'm going to remove the pork and I'm going to go ahead and cook the onions. Okay, once you've seared your pork on all sides, and if you look, you can see it's got a nice brown color, go ahead and take your onion and go ahead and saute that right in the same pan. And if you look, it's already turning brown from the color of the pork. And just to recap, I have here 2 pounds of boneless country style pork ribs, and this is just a large Vidalia onion, or any sweet onion will do, cut very thin. I've got a pound of sauerkraut, and right now it's just draining in a colander in the sink. We'll rinse it when we get ready to use it. And I have my cabbage shredded, a whole head of cabbage, and we'll put that together once the onions are done. Now we're ready to rinse off the sauerkraut. I just have it draining in a colander, and just take a light spray and literally just rinse it off for just a minute. Just not even a minute, 15 seconds. I mean, if you really, really dislike the taste of sauerkraut, I would probably rinse it a little bit more, but I just try to get, just some of the juice off of it. So we'll go ahead and take this with us. Well, actually, I'm going to set it right here. Now, I've got my onions are done. I'm going to go ahead and put my pork back in the pot with the sauteed onions. And of course that juice, I'm going to get rid of that. Get that in. Now I'm going to grab the sauerkraut, put that on top. Sorry. Mix it around a little bit. And then here is my entire head of cabbage. I don't know if it'll all go in at once, but I'm going to try. I'll go ahead and put that on top. And I just shredded this with a knife. Actually, the cameraman shredded it for me. He's got more patience than I do. And if you can't fit all of the cabbage in the first time, or you want to just wait and see, go ahead and just leave some out. You can add it. Now, take your chicken broth, because you're going to want this, I don't know, I'm going to put about a cup in to start with. I just want enough on the bottom to where I can bring this up to a simmer and this can start cooking. Go ahead and put your top on. I'm going to listen for it to come up to a light boil, and then I'm going to turn my heat down just so that it's simmering. The ultimate goal of this, and we're going to check it throughout the next couple of hours, because I am going to saute this on very low for probably 3 hours. The ultimate goal is to where you can't tell the difference anymore between the cabbage and the coleslaw, and the pork is just fork tender. Okay, we're at about an hour and a half mark, maybe an hour and 15. This is my second stir. Just want you to look at it. You can see that the cabbage is really starting to look like sauerkraut. And I'm just kind of mixing it around. I went ahead earlier and added the rest of the cabbage that I had left over. I've still got about 1/4 of an inch of juice on the bottom. This is really starting to get tender. About 1/4 of an inch of juice on the bottom, so I'm not ready to add any more chicken stock. I probably won't have to. As long as I don't, as long as there's still some liquid on the bottom, I think we're in pretty good shape. So I'm just going to continue to let it simmer, probably for about another hour. This is through. It cooked for probably 2 hours. You can see, just get some pork out, and this pork, I'm going to show you how tender it is. But what I want you to see is this cabbage. You really can't see anymore the difference between the cabbage and the sauerkraut. I want you to see how tender this pork is. It just falls apart. And this really doesn't, it's really a good flavor. If you don't like sauerkraut, I'd say try it. If you like sauerkraut, I think you'll love it. I serve it with mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes actually, and it makes a wonderful meal.